Everything's in motion. This is one day at a time. Everyone has cancer, and this is where I battle mine. What's up, guys? Welcome back, guys and girls. Yeah, all folks. Folks and country music. Welcome back to Everyone Has Cancer, the good old EHC, where we try to move forward. And sometimes to move forward, we got to look back. Sometimes when we lose where we are, we need to recollect back to the moment where we knew exactly where we are and look back to the past, look back to what we've been through, put ourselves there, and then walk away from it. Just the easiest way, like Winnie the Pooh says in the new movie, the easiest way to get where you're going is just walk away from where you are. I'm paraphrasing there. I don't know. I can't really paraphrase. I got a worse memory than that stuffed bear. That creepy stuffed bear, if you have some people. So, but yeah, this is Everyone Has Cancer. This is episode 13, the big 1-3, an unlucky number for some. This is an episode that I've been wanting to do for a while, and I've been working towards it. This is really a big meat of the story, because I really think this was a very defining time in my life, and it's taken me a while, like it always does, to get this going, because I wanted to make sure what I was going to talk about, and that doesn't mean I have all of it together. I'm still a rambling man, so you're going to have to deal with that. But let me explain to you a little bit what I'm talking about. If you're new to the show, and this is the first time you're hearing my nasally voice, then my name is Cody, and in 2001, I was diagnosed with leukemia. In 2005, I relapsed, and we're right in the thick of that story. It was a very hard time in my life, and I've had a lot of people come up to me and tell me how strong I was, and how courageous, and how iron-willed I was. And I didn't really see it, because what they saw as courage, what I saw is losing hair, crying, and throwing up. And basically, my friends, family, and loved ones dragging me along as much as they have to. There is just no two ways about it. I was in dire straits. I mean, cancer kind of puts you in a kind of a somber mood. With that being said, be prepared, because you can't go through the kind of stuff that I went through and not have a dark sense of humor. But a lot of people have told me I was strong for it, and if you listened to the show before, this is how I always start the show: is everyone's strong. Everyone is tough, and everyone has that thing that they've gone through in their life that is like, where I went through cancer. Maybe you went through spousal abuse. Maybe your parents beat the crap out of you verbally, mentally, or emotionally. I personally had a father that was very emotionally, mental, and verbally abusive, which, I've talked about. Never physical, but sometimes it would have been more a loss of support type role. So, but some people didn't have cancer. They had suicidal tendencies. They battled depression. They battle their weight. They battle some form of disease. Or the drug addiction. Something like that, or an addiction of any kind. It's a hard life to live, and there's times in our lives where I think I heard it this morning be called a life transition, which sounds very, very nice. It sounds like something you'd see at you just got a new job. That'd be a life transition. But sometimes these life transitions are moments in our lives where we didn't see it coming, and there's no way on earth we'd ever even ask for it. Some people would say it's the last thing I would have wished for. It would have, it's the thing that happens to you is 5 steps below the last thing you would wish for. It's something that completely changes your life, and you don't get a say-so in it. Your free will is taken away, and something happens to you. And you don't know why, but all you really know is that from this moment on, your life will never be the same. It's the start of the rest of your life. And a lot of the times, it has to do with questioning your mortality. You have to face death in the face, which that's a couple faces. But you have to stare death down, and when you're really doing that, it is terrifying, petrifying. But what's going to happen to you is it's going to build you. You know, you may spend years like I do. I've been an emotional wreck ever since this. This show isn't even about like how cancer saved my life or something like that, or like this trying to be this motivational piece about, like that, like I'm glad these things happened to me because it let me see the good in my life. This is my platform to try and define who I am and the insecurities that were already a part of me that, were kind of intensified by, by the sickness I had. It kind of molded with the sicknesses I already dealt with, which are insecurities, never feeling like I'm good enough, bad depression, anxiety disorders. It took, that's the bad thing, is that if all that stuff is already kind of there and you're already kind of going to be working through it, if you have one of these big hard times in your life, then all it's going to do is magnify them, and it's not okay. It's not fun. But if you take it and you give it definition, it's what Batman said is sometimes life, you got to force it to make sense. That's what I'm doing here. I am forcing all this to make sense. And how I'm doing it is I'm telling my story. I'm telling you guys my story because maybe if I tell you my story, then it might hit off a note in you. Maybe it'll send some thunder down into your soul, and maybe maybe strike a chord and maybe hit a little bit close to home to something that you went through. And sometimes all we need is to know that someone else is going through it too. I just got back in touch with one of my really good friends, and me and her kind of like lost touch for a while. We literally just started talking again a few days ago. And turned out all the stuff that I had been going through lately, which, it's kind of, in and of itself, she was going through her version of it, so it's just funny how the more alone we feel, the more we are like everyone else, because everyone, it's when you're in a room full of people is when you feel the most alone. It's when you're, sometimes it's when we're around all our friends that, if you don't have that one person to relate to, then you feel alone. And that's what I'm trying to give you guys. That's what that's what I'm trying to give myself, is just something to relate to, a companion, just someone to say, I know how you feel. Because this the first time around when I went through leukemia at my age, I had ALL, and at my age at the time they said that was kind of rare, because it was like children's leukemia and adult leukemia are two different things. I had children's leukemia, but I was fixing to turn 17. So, with that being said, they found that very strange. And all I wanted was someone that was like maybe in their 18 to 20 range that had been through it too. That, not to where like, they had it when they were 3. Because then they, to me, I felt like they weren't cognitively aware of their own mortality yet. Their parents were, sure as heck. But, I wanted someone that knew what they were getting into, got into it, and then came out the other side. I wanted basically what I'm trying to give you guys. And that's really what it's all about. It's more self-serving than anything, is because I want to give you guys, it sounds like a dumb dad thing to say, but I want to give you guys something that I always wanted. I want to give you guys what I never had, is someone to relate to, someone to say, oh God, yeah, I went through that too. And I've had that. I got a buddy named Cash that, that I worked with him for a while, and he kind of went through the same thing, even had the same doctors that I did. And, it was just kind of, and we were about like 10 years apart in age. So I was like, dang, I wish you were older than me and not younger than me, and had gone through this first, and I had met you sooner, I needed this. And another friend that deals with suicidal thoughts to the point where I've talked about her numerous occasions on here, that deals with suicidal thoughts to a point where, when it gets really bad, she kind of like lets her husband know, hey, it's going to be a bad night, and the anxiety starts going, and they take all the strings and sharp objects and locks them in the safe. They have a procedure down, and that just got me thinking, like, what could we do if we knew someone that was going through the same thing? Not because we Googled it and looked what other people were thinking. Someone like flesh and blood and in the physical that you can say, hey, here's what I went through. And it's not like this. Oh, you keep your head up, champ, and it hurts today, but it's not going to be so bad tomorrow. That hey, you're working towards something great. Hey, you inspire me. No, I want someone to look at me and be like, it's awful. It's the shits. It sucks. I cried. I hurt. I don't know why I had to go through this. I'm still angry at myself, angry at God, angry at the world. And no one gets me. And this is what I'm left with. And I don't know how to get through this, but I'm getting through it. But I'm going forward. All I know is to move forward. Just take all this crap, and if I sit in one spot, then it's just going to surround me and get all over me, and I'm going to sit there and question my own mortality, because that's where I really started questioning it, and then wondering, get this weird, stupid survival skill to like, why did I make it through, but still, why did it happen to me, and I'm never going to be good enough because of it. I want someone to get real with me like that, because that's how I've felt for years, you know, like, so I want someone to say, yeah, I get what you're going through. And like I've said before, if everyone that has been through something horrible shot off a firework at 6 o'clock tonight, then at 6 o'clock tonight, it would look like the 4th of July. So, you know, I've been giving that metaphor for a while. I think that's the first time I've given it where it actually really made sense. So yeah, on this show, sorry guys, I'm ranty, I'm rambling, I'm a rambling man. So first off, I want to go ahead and thank the Court of Cows for giving me this soapbox to stand on, and this preacher's pulpit to preach to the EHC and let you guys know that there is support. There are people that are going through what you went through, and there are people that have built up the skills, because I've had an anxiety disorder way before I had cancer. I had this back when I was a child. If I really think back, I've been dealing with it my whole life, and I know how to deal with the panic attack. I know what to do in the onset of a panic attack. I know how to check my breathing. I know the breathing exercises. I know the thoughts I need to introduce, and I know exactly what I need to do to get myself back at one, to refine my balance. I know how to breathe, and that's easiest way to get back to one with an anxiety disorder. Breathe. If you can't do anything, you can't decide what's attacking you, you can't figure out where these feelings are coming from, and you can't get a handle on it, there's one thing you can always do, and that's breathe. You get to control how you breathe, no matter how bad the storm is. So I could go on like that for a while, and you know what, I'm going to have to do an episode completely on anxiety attacks, because it's something I understand. But I understand it because I've been going through it for a long time. There are some people out there, there's some kids that may be just now going through it. You, listener, you may just now, like, been a complete rock your entire life, and then grown up, and maybe your brother, sister, mother, dad has started having an issue, and you're the rock of the family, or you've just started your own family, just started a new job, and something happens that you've never experienced in your whole life, a panic attack, an anxiety attack. You can't breathe, your heart's racing, you feel dizzy, you feel like you're going to have a heart attack. You're so scared around these people and thinking, oh my God, I'm about to lose consciousness and cause a scene, and that's the last thing I want to do. I'm the rock, I'm the stone. My roots are deep, and I don't go down. Well, you're about to go down. They don't know. They don't have the skills that I have, and the only way you get those skills is by going through the crap that I've gone through. It's something I tell my nephew all the time, is the way you learn how to win is you got to lose a lot. It's just how it goes. Man, I'm feeling very preachy tonight, it seems. So, but yeah, I want to thank the Court of Cows. Over at the Court of Cows, we've kind of slowed down there, around this time of year, be it, with all the work that everyone does. And, I just started a new profession and all this stuff. So everyone's kind of really, really busy, especially this time of year. We don't like to disclose where we work, but this around this time of year, things get really, really busy for the guys, and it's starting to get really, really busy for me. But we're posting videos as often as we can. We have so many projects in the works. I know I've been threatening to do another as played by me. I need to get another one up because I need to do my Mega Man 2, and still fine tuning the script on there. It's going to be a little while though. And, we got some more unboxings coming. We got some more, August is working on this really funny video. Chris and I, the last podcast, we talked about, a few different things. We did that Wish video, which was a lot of fun. It real off the cuff and real goofy. And, I had a blast with it. We try to keep it PG-13, but, and especially on this show, I want it to be palatable for everyone. So, and, I'm kind of hoping that this whole show turns into, a motivational speaking plane, where I can actually get on stage, because good God, I want to do that. And, and it's already inspiring people to, take on their own agendas and take on their own fights and take on their own profession. I've already talked to a few friends just about this show that have started doing their own thing. I talked to a buddy today that is talking about doing her own podcast, and the idea of, and it'd be hilarious. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, the Court of Cows is amazing. Go over to YouTube, or go to facebook.com /Court of Cows. We still need to get that 100. I think it's either 100 or 1,000 likes. If I said it before, I believe it's 1,000 likes, or 100 subscriptions. It's whatever you need to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, because if you do that, and do it on this video too. Hey man, be part of the EHC. Be a warrior. Ayuga. I want to hear that. Ayuga. That's my new chant. You know what? That's gonna be Ayuga. That's taking all your problems, all your issues, and everything you went through, and just giving out a real goofy battle cry to let them know that you ain't affected. You're stronger than them. Ayuga. So that's my warrior. Ooh. Beat that chest. Ayuga. I'm so strong. So, you know what? Go ahead and do that. If you're listening to this right now, you want to feel good about yourself for no reason. I don't, whether you're in the room by yourself or listening with headphones, if you're laying in bed, if you're driving to work, I don't care what you're doing. I want you to stop, stick your chest out, look at all your problems, and beat that chest like a gorilla and go, Ayuga! Like you're just way too strong. Just let's be goofy. Let me know that doesn't make you feel good. Sometimes to feel good, you got to be a little goofy. You got to act a little stupid. And hey man, that's kind of my mantra. Act stupid, embarrass yourself. So you'll have a blast doing it. Because if no one else can make you feel dumb, and you can make yourself feel dumb and laugh at it, then you got the world, by their balls. Oh man, 18 minutes in when we haven't even got started. So what else? You know what? You can find this show at through the gosh, I completely lost train of thought. You can find my show through Court of Cows. I have my own playlist there of the EHC. I haven't been... I need to post some of the episodes back on the official EHC YouTube page. And, check me out on Facebook. If you have any questions, if you want to give your testimony, if you want to talk about what you went through, God, get on this Facebook page and do it, because someone needs to hear your story. Dude, ma'am, kid, dad, brother, sister, mom, someone needs to hear your story. If you're thinking right now, God, I need to get this out of me, because that's the thing. You get it out of here, you get it out of your heart, then you don't have to sit on it anymore. If you actually say, God, yeah, this happened and I was terrified. Something happens to you. You're not terrified anymore because you just let it go. You just got it out there. You released it. Say how you feel. Say that you're scared out of your mind. You can't stop crying. You don't feel like you're good enough. Just say it to someone. Sit someone down and let them know. Or, if you want, do it on this Facebook page. The one you went to get to this. If you're hearing this right now, more than likely, you came to this episode through the Facebook page. So I want you to go ahead and hit, pause this video, or listen to the whole thing. Well, whatever. As long as you give me the like and the subscribe, and go back to the Facebook page. Let me know how you feel. Let me know how you're doing today. Or, let me know what you've been through. Or if you don't even want to direct it at me, if you want to just say it, just throw it out there. If you want to say it, and if you want to message me directly, and from there, when you message me directly, just let me know how what's been going on in your life, and I'll do it for you anonymously. I'll do it on here. If you want to tell me what you've been through, and you want me to preach that for you, and say, hey, so Joe Bob was going through this, and Jane had to deal with this problem in her life. I can do that for you. But what I really think you should do is do it for yourself. Is just get it out there, even if you've never said it before, because it's liberating. It gets it away from you. It lets go of it. It releases it into the air. And that's where it dissipates. Kind of like in the Green Mile, where he sucks all the bugs out and spits them out into the sky, and it deteriorates and the reason it deteriorates, think of it this way. The only reason it deteriorates is because it has to be inside someone to survive. So if you let it go and let it out and just release it, then something crazy might happen. Someone else might hit you up and not say, my condolences, I'm sorry for you, that really sucks. They might say, how did you get through that? Because I'm going through the same crap and I need help. You know what? And that leads me to another thing. If you guys ever deal with suicidal thoughts or deal with big problems like that, there are places you can call. There's, the suicide hotline you can call. There's no shame in doing that. There's toll-free numbers because suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And once again, I'm kind of a jack of all trades, guys. So I've dealt with suicidal thoughts big time, and maybe one day we'll talk about that. But for now, just know there's places that can help, and sometimes it's not. You don't need a degree. Sometimes I don't think you need a degree to help someone because you didn't need a degree to have these problems. But it's. I'm sure Batman had to learn from someone too, so I mean, it does take, sometimes it takes professional help, and sometimes it just helps to say what you're going through, and that's really the main point here. So we're gonna jump back into our story. Last time we kind of went off the cuff because I wanted to talk about the lady in the crutches, and so go back and listen to that if you want to know more about that. That whole episode was about someone that has gone through something that you will never have to go through, is in a better position in her life than maybe you are, and it's because it's liberating, facing your problems down and saying AAAWWWOOOOOGAAAH. That's really fun to do. I'm gonna start doing that now. You try doing that anytime you're in a bad mood. See if that doesn't bring up your joy a little bit. So last time, before the lady in the crutches, I had just gone into the hospital, and the second time around had our little talks and had our little saying our goodbyes, is in like it's time to go into the crap. It's time to get in there, and it's once more into the breach, dear friends, was that episode. And this was a defining time in my life. So we're going to put, how much time do we? I've rambled for almost 25 minutes now. So let's go ahead and put 45 minutes on the clock, and let's see how much damage we can do here. All right, so we're in the hospital room. This place is really small. How would I describe it? Basically, in your mind's eye, if you can picture this. So you walk into the hospital room, and if you're laying on the bed, there's about enough room on each side between the wall and the bed for someone to walk past, and then, but still like be able to lean back and be against the wall. So there, about, I don't know, maybe 4 feet between the bed and the wall on each side, and on my right is this like dad chair, this like this recliner, and on the the far right front of the place of the room is my bathroom, and then above that is the TV, which is this real small little TV, and then that's the entire room. Like above on the left, there's like this whole, like all these cupboards, kind of like in a plane where like all the cupboards up top where you put your carry-on luggage and stuff. And that place was loaded down. Like I had all my Berserk mangas, a crap ton of comic books. What else? All my video games. Because I went into this place, ready. Like I had a DS, I had a PSP, I had my Xbox. I'm sorry, that Xbox. I don't even think I had one yet. I don't even think it was out yet. No, I had a PS2. And I had like the original Xbox, and I had this laptop that we rented from this rental place. It's a center for renting, and we rented this laptop so I could stay in touch on Facebook, or was it? I think it was MySpace then, because we're talking 2005, and then whatever movies that I could think of. The movies thing kind of got shot because I think I went there and they didn't have a DVD player. They had just a VHS player. But, I still have my computer. So, and we put like Adobe Photoshop on that computer, which is wonderful because I'm a sucker for like doodling on I'm not a very good artist whatsoever, but I love like making collages and like putting stuff together and like taking like trying to make my own like video game stuff. It's just fun to do, and that's the entire room. And then I had my this smaller TV that was on wheels that could just fit in that area that like we kind of kept over to the side because it didn't fit anywhere, because it, like I said, it's a very small room, so. It was just kind of like that TV you always think of when you think of like the what is it, the projection team at school, like the little TV on the rollers. It was like that, and you just kind of like wheeled it in, hooked my PS2 up to it, and play Castlevania. Because oh man, what Curse of Darkness, Castlevania Curse of Darkness had just come out. And that was my jam. Like that and God of War. Like I was all about God of War at the time. And, I was really about anything that could take my mind off whatever. Because, like I said, this is right after fighting the clock. Because I was petrified all the time. Like I felt like I was going to die. And like every minute was like just a struggle to get through. Quite literally, every minute was the longest minute of my life. And until it's kind of like in Office Space when he says like every day is the worst day of my life, every minute was harder to get through. So every minute that happened was the longest minute ever. So yeah, it was a very hard time, and it was this weird kind of relief that I was finally in the hospital bed, but at the same time, I was finally here, and this might be my deathbed. This might be the place where I die. But so like these are all my thoughts going into it, and then like I said before, once my brother was gone, like that was it. Like the fight was on. It was time to really knuckle down and do this whole thing. Dr. Selby, my doctor, he was going to be coming in every morning at freaking 7 a.m, like doctors freaking do. And then I turned on the TV to see kind of like what we were getting, and the TV sucked. The only channels I got were UPN when UPN was still a thing, Channel 10, and but that was I can't even remember what it's the CW now, right? Like, But back then, that was the only channel that I got that was good. Like, and I don't mean good, because all that was ever on it was Everybody Loves Raymond and Friends. And on Friday nights, though, it was SmackDown. It was wrestling. So at least I got 4 episodes of wrestling, you know, and I'm a big wrestling nut, so big time wrestling nut. And this is for wrestling fans to put you in a time frame. I believe this is around the time Kane had been unmasked, and he was kind of like a big deal. Unmasked Kane was like very evil and very scary and stuff. But sorry about that humming. If you hear a humming on this episode, I recently moved my refrigerator over next to my little desk that I use for recording. So, but you know, the first couple weeks were pretty great, like in a weird way, because of this magic medicine called Finnegan. Basically, I would call and ask for something to eat. And, after I ate, if I said I was nauseous, they'd give me a dose of Finnegan. And Finnegan was awesome because it made you go to sleep. Sleeping was something that I had struggled with this entire time, especially with the steroids. Was just not able to sleep, and with the anxiety and everything. And it was like going to bed at 10, waking up at 5, and being up all day. And just completely wrecked with anxiety. And, so I had this magic medicine that could knock me the heck out. And even like right before I went to the hospital, I got prescribed Ambien. And I don't mean like I took an Ambien and fell asleep. I was to take an Ambien CR, which was a time release. And then I had one, not a time release, but just like a little Ambien pill that I took around 2 a.m. because I would wake up in the middle of the night not able to sleep. And I had to take a little bit of an Ambien just to bump it. It was a hard time. And even then, I'd wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning, ready for the day. Well, not really ready for the day, but, ready to figure out how to make this day go away. Anyway, so Finnegan was amazing because it would knock me out. Like, it was the one thing that could knock me out. So I started this routine, like, for the first couple weeks. It was, wake up, hang out for a little while, talk to my mom for a bit. If someone called, I'd talk to them, see a few of the doctors, then go do some physical therapy because, they knew I was going to be laid up in this room for 32 days. And I had signed my life away and all this stuff. So, like the only kind of outing you got was it was this quarantine wing. So it was like, it was about half the length of a basketball field, I guess, or a basketball court, I guess. Basketball field shows what I know about sports. But yeah, it's about half the length of a basketball court. And, you would just walk down there and walk back and you've seen everything. Especially, about day 20, day 25, you done seen, by day like 10, you're done with the hallway. You could draw the hallway, and like I said, I'm a horrible artist, but I could draw the hallway right now. It's etched in my brain. And you just walked over to these like bank vault doors and like that, and that was all you got. The only interesting thing in the hallway was this little like real crappy like $15 treadmill or this stationary bike, that was like barely put together, and it wasn't even plugged in. It was just sitting there kind of like it was at like a thrift shop, or like it was sitting there next to the dumpster because no one could haul it in there. And you were just supposed to get on that and just ride Sally Ride. And and I did it a few times when I had to do the physical therapy thing, because they got to keep your metabolism up and your leg strength up, because they worry about bed sores and all that stuff. I would sit in there and just ride for a little bit and be like, all right, this is tapped, and and head back to the room to play some more Castlevania. But yeah, it was it was get up in the morning, hang out for a little bit, do the physical therapy thing, and then go back, get something to eat, take some Finnegan, and go to sleep till about 6 at night, and wake up for the evening, and then just hang out until it was time to take Ambien. So there was a lot of sleep involved at first, and so it wasn't that bad. Like the first week and a half kind of flew by, and with nothing really to write home about. It was just kind of like a little bit of a getaway at first. The real problem didn't start happening until I started getting used to the Finnegan. Like my body started developing a tolerance to the drowsiness, like most things do. Some people will take Benadryl to just go to sleep, or Benadryl just knocks them out. If you take Benadryl long enough, you build up a tolerance to it. It's why drug addiction even exists, is because your body builds up a tolerance to it, so you have to take more. I mean, everyone knows this. It's 101. It's like, you get addicted to oxycodone. Oh, man. Woo! Next time, probably. But, you develop a pain pill addiction because you take it once. It feels phenomenal. Phenomenal. Wonderful. It feels great. And, you feel that, or you expect that feeling the next time, but, it's kind of there. You kind of get that good feeling. You may get, close to, and not even notice any kind of that it's less than it was the first time. So you want that again and again and again, and pretty soon you don't feel that anymore. So you have to take larger doses and larger doses and larger doses, and then you're just chasing that first high. And and boom, you're a drug addict. And but it was kind of the same with the Finnegan. Just one day, it was literally one day I just could not get to sleep. The amount of drugs and saline they were pumping into me to get the to work through the chemotherapy and the radiation was a lot. So I had to pee a lot, but at the same time you salivate a lot. Is what someone, not a lot of people tell you, is you're just kind of drooling and just mouth watering a lot. So I would go to sleep and then wake up in just a puddle, sorry to be gross, but a puddle of spit. So I kind of got in the habit of sleeping with just a rag under my face, just right under my jaw. So, but have to wrap all these cords, because I had all these cords. I had my 3-line, which, if you don't know what that is, look it up. It's basically 3 lines that are connected to an artery in your heart, but they're sticking out of your chest. I had my portacath on my left, and then the 3-line on my right. So I had all these cords. I looked like the back of a TV. I had all these cords coming out of me. And I had to sleep like that. I had to get used to just wrapping all these cords up, and I had to sleep with that pulse thing, that heartbeat monitor on your finger, and so it's weird because now I have sleep apnea and I sleep fine with a mask on. So it's I need white noise to go to sleep, and if I heard an IV pole, it'd probably put me to sleep, like the motor of an IV pole. It started wearing off, man, and that's when it started getting a lot harder, because the doctor, Dr. Selby, he really wanted me to get up and around in the morning and be up and around, and I have never been, am not, and will never be a morning person. When I go to work every morning, I still, my boss is like, hey, do you want a Red Bull or something? Because I just look tired. I don't mean to look that freaking groggy, but I'm not a morning person. I don't know how people wake up just, hey, good morning, USA. They really wake up like that. And those people grow up to be doctors because, they're buttholes in the morning and don't get how some people don't really start coming to and getting into their routine until in the evening, and that's just how I operate. So yeah, I used to argue with him, as he'd be like, you need to get up and around, you got to get up and going, and be like, I do get up and going, I am up and around, you just don't see it because you're at home in bed by the time I'm up and around, we're on 2 different time zones, internally. So yeah, and around, this is when I was doing the full body radiation, which is crazy. I'm sure it's a lot like how the Hulk was created, because this dude would come get me, put me in a wheelchair, and this place was enormous. Like we'd walk, felt like for a good 40. Well, he'd walk and wheel, my bald little lumpy sad self to felt like a good 30 to 45 minutes. Just felt like we were walking from city to city, and it felt like a couple miles really. And we'd finally get there, and I'd lay on this really uncomfortable bed with this big triangle pad, because they had to angle your feet just right, and this gigantic gun that shoots gamma radiation. It's basically how the Hulk was created. And and then they go behind this big wall, which was always funny to me. That was like, this isn't gonna hurt. I'm gonna shield myself between this wall of lead and put on these goggles and put on this welding mask, but you'll be all right. I don't want to get shot with it, but because it's gonna tear me up inside, but you'll be okay. And then I'd lay down and hear this probably kind of what you're hearing now. Hear this kind of hum go on, and there was a CD player in the room. And, so I would take down a couple CDs, because, I had to lay in front of this thing for like a good hour and just lay there. And so I couldn't wear headphones, because if I was shot by this machine while wearing headphones, they could melt and damage my head. So, and the CD player was only there and operable because it was kind of like behind it was behind the lead wall with this guy, because if it was out there, it would like destroy the machine. So, destroy the machine. Ooh. That was from my brother. And, anyone else who's seen Short Circuit too. So yeah, they had this, my, nothing could be in this room but me in this freaking triangle. And, but I was going to be okay. I wasn't going to get melted and destroyed, and, and I wasn't going to be, turned into a mutant, or like turned into, some kind of big green monster, which would make me angry, and you wouldn't like me when I'm angry. And, and then I'd go back, and, once I'd go back to the room, it was, do a bag of chemotherapy, and I remember the first time they put in the bag of chemotherapy, I kind of looked at it and did kind of what I said I did before, is I'd kind of look at it and say, man, did I ever really leave this place? And man, I had some weird dreams just during that time, and I guess the big difference the second time around as opposed to the first time around was that the first time around I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I just knew I had to be done, and then I got really messed up on morphine, so I didn't even really remember it. But this time I was cognitively, all my faculties were about. I was in good. Well, I wasn't in good health, I was just there. I knew exactly what was going on. I knew exactly the issues I was having, and and there was no getting out of it. There was no running from it. Anyway, so yeah, that started wearing off, and I started not sleeping, and all I had every single day was freaking Everybody Loves Raymond, and Friends, and God. I despise Everybody Loves Raymond, because that was like Cops on some channels. It was just on, or like Big Bang Theory. It was just on, and it was the same stupid jokes, and the Ray Romano crap, and oh God. And then when that wasn't on, it was freaking Ice Age. So I couldn't get away from Ray Romano. That dude was haunting me. And, but it was cool, because on Fridays I got SmackDown, so. But the rest of the time it was, no one had told you life was gonna be this way. So, or it was, freaking Ray Romano. So, Deborah. So it was all that crap. I can't do a Ray Romano voice, so I'm not even gonna try. But it was just all, God, I hated that show. And my mom was like, this show's kind of funny. And I was like, this show's awful. I'm sure in prisons, this is what they do, is they just play, freaking Ray Romano. And then there were times that, it would just be kind of me in the room with Castlevania, and Castlevania Curse of Darkness like was just a big part of it. Like just playing video games, like playing the first time around I played Ocarina of Time, Legends of Zelda a lot, and in the hospital, like because I just never beaten it by myself, and this time it was Castlevania Curse of Darkness. I was just getting so good at it, and and it's a gigantic game. This is going to turn into a quick video game review. Is the game itself is enormous. There's so much you can do, and it's a game that like there's I guess the biggest flaw for this game is that there's way too many secrets and way too many, because you can build your own weapons, and like the weapon system is you have to steal items from enemies, and some items can only be found from certain enemies like bosses who, so it's like very, very hard to get some items if you wanted certain weapons. And like it had this whole buddy system where like you had like a fairy or a golem or a demon or just something like that was with you, that accompanied you, and you could build it up to a point, but you had to have items to do that. And then the place just kind of kept building. It was like Dark Souls before Dark Souls, really. It was just kind of this thing like I don't know how anyone could ever get through it and find everything without a strategy guide. Because having the strategy guide just made it a lot more fun, actually. And I guess that's the best way I can describe it. It's a very forgiving Dark Souls, where it's like it just keeps going. There's always something to do, but there's a lot more story that you actually understood, and it kept me intrigued. That and Munch's Odyssey. Like I played a lot of Munch's Odyssey, and I'd read comics and stuff. Like I took all my Berserk books. But Berserk was a little too traumatizing. Like, I couldn't really handle it, at the time. I just related to it a lot. And, that's all I'll say about that, because, you pull that Berserk string on me, I'm going to be a diesel engine. I'm going to go a long time. So, but yeah, with comic books, I just kind of developed this thing a long time ago that Batman, Spider-Man, those guys, Superman, they didn't get sick. They went through their stuff, and then they were right back at it to another fight. And it was another horrible fight that could be personal, could be hard to go through. But they always came back, and they, in a probably the dorkiest statement I've ever made is they were always there for me. They kept going so I could too. And it was, they had their own crap to deal with, and so yeah, like I had all my little dork stuff, and at my beck and call. Final Fantasy Advent Children was huge for me, like that. I'm me and my brother both are big into Final Fantasy, so like all that. So yeah, I had like this big. I might just post the pictures at some point, but I had this big wall scroll of Cloud. We tried to really gussy the place up, like real Cody style. Had some of my figures set up, and had Humphrey, my loyal compatriot Humphrey, who's this stuffed platypus that I've had for a long time. He was with me the entire first round of treatment, and he was going to be with me this time, and so. And it was real cute. I was 20 freaking years old, but if I had to have like a hairnet on and a mask on, then Humphrey had a mask and a hairnet on too. So yeah, and this is around the time that I had, once the radiation and all the chemotherapy had blasted through me, I was hollow. All that was inside me was my spirit. No good blood to speak of, and no immune system to even think of. And this whole thing. Just they had to have you sign this. They made me sign this thing that said that I can't go the the treatment I'm about to go through. I just have to understand that I can't go through it again, because if I went through this entire regimen again, then it would kill me. So rough stuff, and so I had to be bathed every night. Which sounds fun, but I couldn't make contact with water. So, like any kind of water like that came from outside, kind of had to go through this little quarantine. It was a big quarantine thing, And I remember at one point, my mom could tell you about this, because this sucked. Because like when I first started going there, like some of the caulk on the window, like there was a window like right next to the dad chair in there, and some of the caulk had deteriorated, so there was a little bit of air coming in from outside, and they had to make this big project. They had to get me out of my room. You know, when I was like, "Hey, I hear this whistling at my window. It's kind of weird. It's really annoying. Could you do something about it?" And they were like, "Oh, whistle! We got to whistle!" And they hit this alarm, and like this whole team, SEAL Team 6 comes in. They're like, "We got to breach!" And you know, they get this whole construction team out there. They gotta, you know, rebuild the window frame and from the outside in, and you know, put, you know, so where I had some caulk falling apart, now I got all these caulks outside fixing the window. So, so yeah, you know, it wasn't fun, and you know, some goofy, fun stuff happened, but what sucked about every single night was that a couple, 2 or 3 nurses had to come in. One of them had to change my sheets, like completely, wipe everything down, and then while she was doing that, 2 nurses had me, you know, just as God made me, naked, you know, and you know those anti-germ wipes that, you know, you used for your kids and stuff, wiping me down from head to toe, giving me a cavity search with these things. This was a nightly routine. This is how I bathed. I got wiped down with these things. My bed got wiped down. I changed, which, just imagine all that happening in a room made of tile. Like, it was very cold, and then the more I got touched with wet stuff, the more the ground got cold, you know? So I was just standing on wet tile, and I'm freaking freezing and naked around all these people that are just wiping me down, and this is a nightly occurrence. You know, this is just what I had to do. And, you know, so yeah, not a fun time. You know, they don't really, you know, and then they hand you the part that's like, hey, you know, now wash yourself. You know, and then you kind of have to just, you know, wipe yourself down and handle all that. So, but yeah, it sucked. And then like the longer I was in there, the harder it was getting. Just I was starting to, like, my nerves were kind of getting the best of me, and I stopped sleeping, and I started. The nurses I'm sure they got sick of me, because I would page them and be like, I can't sleep, you know, and then like 2 hours later be like, I'm still awake. And there's a few sleepless nights, like legitimately sleepless nights, where like come 7 o'clock in the morning, I haven't slept, and it's not for the lack of trying. Like I've laid there with my eyes closed, and all I could do is, you know, keep it down and try not to wrestle around so much, because you had that big plastic thing on the bed too, and you know, I kept looking over and like not trying to wake up my mom or something, you know, and like, and her entire life was that dad chair, was this little hallway where, you know, where her little area, because she wouldn't leave my side, was that dad chair, to where she could reach her arms out like she was trying to make a giant T. Her elbow of her right arm would touch the wall, and then she could lay her left arm on the bed. So like that's not enough room to live. So yeah, there were a few nights there that that my brother would come down and you know, and just stay with me, so she could just go get a whole hotel room for the day and just go to sleep. And even then, like, she had to force herself to go to sleep, because she didn't want to. She was scared of what might happen, so she'd have to take a couple Xanax and a Benadryl just to fall asleep for an hour, you know. And I mean, like all of us, none of us were having fun. And all through this, you know, my dad, I think, visited me twice, and it was terrible, you know. Like he really like kind of he takes over the room only once, like, finds NASCAR, turns it on, and you know, and then falls asleep, snores real loud, and then, you know, I'm just kind of there, you know, and just kind of I hang out with him. He never hangs out with me. Yeah. That's kind of telling, isn't it? So yeah, like I didn't really like him being around because he wasn't really helpful to the situation. And then him and my mom, kind of had their own issues and had all their problems going down, and a lot of it, really started at a lot of it had already been going on, but a lot of it, it really started hitting a boiling point while I was in the hospital. So like I said, like when you go through these horrible situations, don't think you're going through it alone. Like your family serves the time with you. Um, Sorry, I had to get a drink real quick. So, yeah, my brother would come down and we'd talk wrestling. We'd watch a show, or we'd play a video game together or something. Then it was back to trying to live, and physical therapists would come by. I didn't always want to do the physical therapy thing. It just started wearing on me, and it just be locked in this room. I'm not sleeping at all, and no drug is helping, so I have no release from any of this, and I just start crying, just over and over, just not one time. I mean, it's like a constant thing. I'm just in constant tears. When anxiety really got bad, like I would work myself into like a full-blown nosebleed, because those were still a thing. And when you don't have any platelets, it's a little bit hard to get under control. So like I'd get a nosebleed, and we'd have to have a team come in and help me get this nosebleed under control, give me a round of platelets really quick, and and then give me a transfusion. There's a few transfusions there. God, there was just a lot going on, and then I didn't want to be in the room anymore. I wanted to go outside, but I couldn't. And the only place I could go is down this stupid hallway. 20 days in, like I am wrecked. I don't want to do anything. I all I want to do is lay there, but I just don't want to lay there. I there was no way to get out, and I was starting to give up. I was starting to give in, and I started wanting to just tell the nurses, like, that's it, like, just quit keeping me alive, let me just go, like, you've already killed my body, like, now I just gotta live through the radiation and the chemotherapy and all that stuff, and to get through all that, I just gotta eat and take care of myself. Or I could just stop trying and just let whatever happens, and I already signed the paper saying that I don't want to be, or that like they have the right to pull the plug on me. So hey, like, if I was incapacitated for some reason. So I was getting there, and I was getting to where like I didn't want to fight anymore, and I was again crying all the time. Like I remember looking across the hall. There was like 6 rooms in this hallway, and all of us are quarantined. Like none of us ever spoke, and they'd have people come in. Like they'd have people that came in that were kind of in the same wing that are just like trying to be helpful, but they're kind of going through their own thing, and yeah, so like so yeah, it was just a hard time. I remember looking down this hallway and seeing this little girl get a plate of food, and she's just like real happy to eat, and she's just eating. At this point I completely lost my appetite, and it was just like this good family scene, and and they were just really happy, and and they were just real content with what they got, and they were okay with everything, and I just started crying, and I remember my mom looking over at that, and then looking over at me and saying, "What upset you about that? Why are you so upset that all she's doing is eating?" And that's what I said, is like, she's able to eat, she's contentment, like she's content with her lot, she's okay right now. In this very moment, she is all right. This little bald girl with her family. She's perfectly okay. Maybe only for a moment. And I cannot remember the last time that I was completely okay. That this is it. And I remember thinking, like, this is it. Like, I'm done. This, I can't do this anymore. It's not going to get any better. And I'm out of good moments. That I'm truly out of them. And going to get a little bit weird on you guys, but please bear with me. My mom left the room, and what I didn't know is that she was done. Like, she couldn't do this anymore either. Like, she wasn't about to do anything drastic, but moms know, man. Like, she knew I had let go. She knew I was giving up, and she knew she couldn't get me back. And there's nothing that could be done. And then something just crazy happened. I closed, while it was just me in the room, I closed my eyes. And suddenly, I was hanging over a cliff. Like the picture, here's the reason I chose the picture I did for the cover picture for the EHC. The picture you're seeing right now, if you look at YouTube, if you look at what you're playing right now, that picture of someone hanging over the side of a cliff, that's what I saw. I was hanging over the side of a cliff, and someone had my hand. Someone was holding my hand, and just said, "Cody, look." And yeah, I opened my eyes, and I was just over this side of the cliff. Felt like I was over the side of the cliff at the Grand Canyon, and someone was holding my hand. And to this day, I can only think that it was God, And I know some people hear this and are going to be like, oh, okay, here we go, Christian awakening. No, then you know what? If you feel that way, then call it what you want. Call it a metaphor if it makes you feel comfortable. But I'll tell you what I felt and what I saw. I saw myself hanging over the side of a cliff with everything that I was. I was no longer in the hospital bed. I was hanging over the side of a cliff, and someone had me by the hand, and they were keeping me from falling. And they said, "Cody, look." And I looked around, felt the wind, felt where I was. And he said, "Pull." And when I pulled back to actually lift myself up, all I could see was an arm holding me. And when I pulled back, that arm that was holding me also pulled back to pull me up. And as the arm pulled me up, I just see, kind of like Bruce Banner turning into the Hulk, like I just see all these muscles just raise, and this arm just becomes huge, just a big, just all of a sudden it's just huge, and it's strong enough to pick me up. And I start coming up. I could have sit there and struggle and try to get myself up, but because I pulled back, I gave that little bit of effort, this hand started pulling me up because I tried. And the voice said, "Now everything is in motion." And I opened my eyes and I was back in the hospital room. Call it a moment of clarity. Call it, if it makes you feel comfortable, then, say that I fell asleep for a little bit and woke up. Call it delusions of a broken mind. Whatever helps you sleep at night, man. But that happened, and it's something that has stuck with me. The voice didn't give a Bible scripture. It didn't tell me who he, she, or it was. But as a Christian, I can only think that it was an angel, or it was that it was God himself. And just told me everything was in motion because I tried. And congratulations, you have reached the root of this show. I start every episode with everything's in motion. This is one day at a time. The reason I start with that is because that's what the voice said, is that everything's in motion. You know, and that gave me peace. That gave me comfort, because as long as you just keep going, even if you don't see a reason to go on, even if you're at the end of your rope, just keep going. You know, I'm not saying because, you know, there's light at the end of the tunnel, or you never, you know, and if you want to put that on, if you want to put that spin on it, cool, is that you never know what the tide's going to bring. You don't know what tomorrow's going to be, and storms can't last forever and all that, but just keep going. The best way to avoid this stuff and to make sense of it is just to keep going. Just, you know, when you're going through horrible things, just keep going. Just move forward. Just keep it in motion. That, you know, some people might say they don't know how to live in the now. They only know how to live in their head. I have struggled with that my entire life, and I don't know how to get out of your head when there's nothing to do, but all I know is that you just got to keep going. Just keep going forward. You know, and that's how you put everything behind you, is by moving towards something. And even if you have nothing to move towards, just keep going forward, because the easiest way to, maybe you don't know where you're going in life, and you don't know what it all means, and you don't know where you're supposed to go, but all you know is you want out of this. Okay, well then that's all you need to know, because the easiest way to get out of what you're going through is to walk away from it. And the easiest way to get to where, if you don't know where you're going or how to get there, well, all you need to know is that you need to walk away from where you are. Just walk away from where you are. You know? Just move forward. You know, never move back. Just move forward, and eventually it'll be in your rear view. And, you know, it will be. It will be. I sat there in a hospital bed ready to give up, not thinking there was any kind of happiness to ever be had again, and there were no more good moments. And 15 years later, and I'm here having good moments with you guys. I'm here doing this show, and instead of being told how strong I am, I have people telling me how strong they are. I have people telling me what they've been through. I talked to an old friend yesterday, and they said, someone that I haven't talked to in like 10 years. Actually, I haven't even talked to this person for many, many years, actually. And like since I was in like grade school, well, like middle school. And, you know, and they told me, hey, I've been listening to your show. People really need to hear that. You should keep going. And it's just funny, like it's just like that. So that's basically the theme of this episode. Keep going. You know, hey, I like what you're doing. If you're hearing my voice right now, I like what you're doing. Keep going. I'm not going to tell you, hey, you're strong. You know, hey, you're tough, and it sucks what you're going through. My condolences. No, I'm just going to tell you those two words. Keep going. As a matter of fact, next person you see, I don't care if you know them or not, you need to just tell them, well, hey man, like if you're filling up your coffee, or you're at Starbucks, you know, getting your drink, if, you know, where most people say God bless or thank you, or hey, have a good day whenever you're leaving. Maybe what we should really be saying to each other when we're leaving is, hey man, keep going. You know, so instead of, and put that on your goodbye. Like, I help people all day, and you know, when they leave, they're like, all right, have a good day. Hey, you too. Or hey, God bless. Or hey, I'll see ya. Tell someone to keep going. If you're listening to this, I want you to do that for me. Please tell someone to keep going. Like, even if you, it's the last thing you say to them before they leave. Oh, and there's my timer. Just let them know that they need to keep going. You know? And yeah, man, like, from then, I'd like to say I started improving, but, you know, a lot of damage had been done. And, they ended up, you know, because of my crying all the time, and I was starting to kind of come up out of it. And, but they were still worried about me. This is around day 25. And so really kind of concerned about me. They ended up sending in a team of like 6 psychiatrists. All of them. I mean, this was like the Justice League of psychiatrists. Like, we had like a mental specialist. We had, like a disorder specialist, an addiction specialist, like all these different kind of, like a psychologist, a therapist, a mental wellness doctor, all these, like, just this, like, literally the Justice League of psychiatrists, of shrinks, and none of them were short. And like had an Indian guy, like I had the works, I had a Japanese lady, and they had to do this whole assessment, and they surrounded my bed like they're gonna do, that they're really gonna help, and then they started doing this seance, and since that day I've had these powers. No, they surround my bed, and they're like, okay, so we're gonna ask you questions and check your mental capacity. And this, one doctor just starts asking me these like oddball questions, and then I get through all that, and then another doctor asks me if I know, and then like we really start like with the easy stuff, but just to really see like how much damage has been done. So like, do you know what year it is? Do you know your name? Do you remember where you live? Do you know where you are right now? Do you see anything in the room floating? Is anything animated? Like, not in like, do you see a cartoon rabbit? But like, hey, they would like, I did the Rorschach test, and then like there was a picture of some flowers on the wall, and they're like, are they moving at all? And do I hear any voices? Like audibly, not just my inner monologue. Do I audibly hear any voices outside of this room? Because they like put this thing over the door and like kind of soundproofed it, and was like, okay, we're gonna be quiet for a little bit. We were quiet for a little bit, and they're like, okay, we're just gonna watch you, and that was like the first thing. And then they were like, okay, during that time, did you hear any voices? Did you hear any sounds? What were you asking yourself? And be completely brutally honest. And do you ever have moments of this? Do you ever have problems like this? And yeah, they ended up, they asked me if I've seen anything crazy lately. I told them about the, being off the cliffside, and thinking it was a moment of clarity, and it was a very spiritual, Christian loving moment, but I mean, a team of head doctors, just asking you if you've seen anything that were like kind of out of the ordinary. So, chalk it up as that if it makes you guys feel better, that like it was a moment of weakness from a very weak mind. But they were asking about stuff. When I think one of the questions was like, when you wake up and you just had like a clear dream, did you have any kind of feeling that like was it hard for you to differentiate reality from the dream world? So all sorts of stuff, man. Like there was a lot of questions there. By the end of it, they ended up assessing that I was about to go nuts, that I was losing my freaking mind, and that something needed to be done, that something needed to be a move needed to be made, because I was close to losing my mind. We had this, then like this last doctor comes in and says, hey, so physically you're doing okay, but mentally we got to get you out of here. And they actually diagnosed me with cabin fever. I didn't even know you could get diagnosed with cabin fever. I didn't even know that was a thing. I just thought that was a movie. But yeah, they said from being locked up in this room for so long, at the emotional state that I went into it, it just made things worse, and it just made me a little bit. I was doing good when I could be, basically when I could be tranquilized with the Finnegan. Then it was okay because it could shut down and get into my REM state of sleep. But now without that, I was slowly losing my mind. And they said that, I said it before, they said that it's supposed to be a 32-day thing, but we're gonna need to get him out a little bit sooner because I'm gonna start hearing voices. I'm gonna start hallucinating, and they're worried about me developing. Well, one thing they were worried about is multiple personalities. They thought I was gonna start because I felt like there was no way out, and my mental state that they had kind of, what is it? They had deduced basically that they were worried I was going to create a person that it sounds so goofy saying it, but they thought I was going to create a person that has never been sad and that, had all this hope, and that he was a completely other person than me, and that I was going to truly believe that. No, and then, and it was going to become this multiple personality. Like, they didn't know what was going to happen, but they knew, basically, they had all these theories of what might happen if I was in there another week, and they just needed to get me out. So, I had to come out early. I kind of ran out of time today. We're at an hour 15, but I'll get into this next time because I wasn't able to go home right away. I was supposed to be able to, but the house wasn't ready, which was something that, my dad was supposed to prepare, but didn't. So I ended up having to go to, if you've ever heard of the Ronald McDonald House, had to go there, which was next door, but the hell with it, man. Like, I don't care if they put me on an iceberg somewhere. Like, I was out of that hospital room. My brother was the one that came and got me on the 28th day. And yeah, he opened the door to where me and him were just outside, and it was middle of the night, I believe. And I just looked up at the night. I just looked up at the stars and just breathed that fresh air, and was just, I was out. Like, I don't care where we go. We could go to a penitentiary for all I care. All I know is I'm outside right now. And, so, yeah, went right next door to the hospital. So, didn't go very far. But, went right next door to the Ronald McDonald House. And got all checked in there. And then laid on the couch and was just perfectly fine laying on that couch. And it was just kind of in that place for about 10 days. And that 10 days flew by. It was just non-existent. Like, I didn't care where I was. Like, this is around December, So, they had this guy dressed as Santa come by, and, well, it could have been a real thing. I don't know. I was in no mental state to tell. And I had this really freaking awesome bed, like one of those beds with a remote that could, you could decide, how the texture of it, and like if it was heated and all this stuff. So, and funny thing is I had to, we had like a window unit that stayed off, but I would have to turn it on because it had like a little motor sound, and I needed that little motor sound to sleep at this point, like an IV pole or something. But I was out, and and then they had like this big thing of movies, and like all of them, like, I think the guy who bought the movies stopped buying them once Richard Pryor stopped being famous, because there was like Ghost Dad, there was The Toy, there was that Richard Pryor movie. It was a bunch of Richard Pryor movies for some weird reason, but all is like kind of like family palatable stuff, like none of his stand up, but I really wanted to stand up, but I guess couldn't do that for a kid's place. But yeah, there was that one movie about that I watched of his that was about like he found out he had like a rich uncle or something, and he had to get the inheritance, but the only way he could get the inheritance is if he spent $1 million in one day or something like that. And I watched that, and it was really freaking good. Watched The Toy, and that was kind of racist, but but yeah, just kind of just sat there and watched movies, and like I'd be like, what is this? Is this the weather? Is Ray Romano on it? Then awesome, let's watch it. They actually had more channels than the Everybody Loves Raymond channel. Oh man, like it was wonderful. I was willing to watch anything. Like I sat there and watched the cooking show, and I my appetite was still like kind of non-existent at this point in time. Like I was just living on like crackers and and just like real light stuff like chicken noodles and whatever. And and then yeah, like I was watching the cooking channel. Didn't really play many video games because I was just happy to like get up and like not have to move all these cords around. Didn't have to get up like I looked like the back of a TV, like, or that I was the top of, you know, Whoopi Goldberg's head with all these cords coming out of me. Yeah, it was a good time, man. Like just kind of chilled in my room. They'd have food, and I'd go over to the kitchen, make myself something to eat, talk to some kids, and you know, and come back to the room and watch a Richard Pryor movie, and you know, and just enjoy this couch that wasn't a hospital bed. And I honestly, I don't really have many stories out of it because it was like I was there and then I wasn't. So, and then it was time to go home. You know, so yeah, that's Santa came by and talked to him, and I just remember him looking at me and being like, "Cody, I just hope all your dreams come true." And thanks, Santa. You know, so this one's for the big guy. So yeah, man, like it's some rough stuff, and we still have a little bit to go. We still have stories to be told. We're kind of almost done with all the hospital stuff, but you know, you'd think so, but we're not done by a sight. You know, there's still a lot to talk about. There's still a lot to go over. Next time we're gonna talk. You know, we're gonna get really heavy into, I guess, dad issues, because I mean, like the next little bit had a lot to do with my dad. You know, so that's probably going to be a hard one to tell. You know, it may take us a little bit to get there. I may do a few episodes with some special guests here pretty soon. You know, I already started talking to one friend about getting on here because oh man, she's got a good story, and I can't wait for you guys to hear it. And I still got my buddy Train that I really want him to be on it, and yeah, so there's a lot to do, and I think it might be getting close to the time of like having guests on the show, because it's time for this show to evolve. It's time to do something more than just sit here and ramble and tell you my sad stories, and tell you the stories of how I became strong and how I became the person that is talking to you right now, because you're going to become a better version of yourself if you talk about this stuff, and sometimes it's just getting it out there, you know. So yeah, thanks for listening, and you know, we're gonna next time we're gonna be talking about some more issues that just kind of, you know, the battles were over, but the war was far from over. So that's my story so far of my battle.